So
Yeah.
you had a good bit with Sensational Sherry. I remember that.
If I tell you, that was my closest friend when I started traveling. Loved her to death. And Ted was great. We did a couple things together. I mean, Sherry was my best friend because I never fit in with these guys. I mean, I got some bumps and bruises, but I wasn't wrestling. I was a character. It was, I did a whole year with the Bushwhackers, whom I love. They were so good to me. And, I always got the feeling like these guys are so good to me, but they can't be happy about, having to work with me. That was my feeling at the time. Put me with the Bushwhackers, I kind of felt sorry for them. Like, I'm sorry, guys, but, they got all this planned for us, and which culminated at the Royal Rumble in '92. But, getting back to having to travel, I wasn't a fan of traveling and not quite sure what it really meant to me career-wise, which is what I was thinking. And the fact that I was not able to go on other auditions because I had, I was booking some work at that time. I did a couple commercials, a couple films. I played the bad guy in an episode of America's Most Wanted. Like, I was a working actor. So I was not good really with, being, I felt like I was being held back because I really couldn't audition for things knowing that they could send me on the road at any moment. I mean, I did this episode of Primetime with the Berserker where they throw me off the roof. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
I remember, of course, yeah.
Yeah, it was probably my favorite bit on Primetime because they continued the story for the next couple of weeks. And I got hurt doing it, dropped me on my head. But I didn't make a big deal out of it. I'm sure I had a concussion. I mean, he literally, when he goes to pick up that, I was tied to the stake. As he's stepping, he missed the step going off the stage, going through the curtain. And he fell this way. And the first thing that hit the floor was the top of my head. And, in the Royal Rumble, I kid you not, that shot that the Genius gave me.
What, the doofus.
Huh?
The doofus.
The doofus.
Not the genius. You called him the doofus.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Thank you for that.
Right?
Listen, it's so funny. I don't know. What's so funny is wrestling fans all the time quote me, and I don't remember saying that or doing that but yeah. And, but like he gave me a shot. He rang my bell with that slap. And I always told God, if I was doing anything physical, I always say, hit me, throw me, let's make it look real. And I was committed to that. I mean, there was far too much stuff, in my opinion, that just didn't look real, in whether it was a vignette or a promo or an actual match that just, and I wanted to sell it. I wanted to hit me.
John, when you're in the studio, you're pretty much, you're Vince's guy, you're protected, but there's a different etiquette in the locker room. Did anyone ever try and say to you, listen, don't do this, don't do that? Did anyone ever try and test you?
No, but there were guys that obviously I could tell they didn't like me. They didn't think I had any use. Wrestling had no use for me, like that, and it was obvious, which I was okay with. I gave everybody space. I didn't ever try to fit in or anything. I was nice, but there were people that, really supported me, that really, and Vince was one of them. Vince loved what I did. The creative staff. I mean, I was to to them, I was gold. Like, all right, this week you're going to get the $1 million belt stuck on you. You're going to go into his dressing room and or, you're gonna by mistake walk into Bret Hart's dressing room and he's, oh, it's okay. Like, and he gave me a pair of sunglasses. Like the $1 million belt episode is great. Pulling me, they went to the audience with a metal detector. That's how they found it around me. And yeah, I mean, it was great. There were people, and even Vince's creative team. He had a lot of old school guys, and a lot of them, I know he got some negative feedback on me that, Jameson's not a wrestling character. There was definitely, I would say I had more supporters than detractors, but among his group, Vince was almost on his own figuring out what to do with me, because a lot of guys didn't know what to do with me. I think I deserved to even be there. So that's all part of it. And I try not to take things personally. I went in and did my job.
It's really any career. You're going to have your detractors. There's politics in every business, It's
absolutely
not just wrestling.
Absolutely. Right.
When you were in the primetime audience, were those all plants?
No.
They were legit wrestling fans?
The only plant, I think the only plants that were there was me and the Rosati's, the Oinkettes.
Yeah.
And that was it. And if I tell you how, I would go out to my seat in the audience, how people, they were just so nice to me. They would tell me how they loved last week's episode or whatever. I mean, it was a great place to meet. And I still didn't get it, that I could have a future. I got asked to go to WCW when everybody left. But it was in Atlanta. Yeah, it was in Atlanta. I wasn't, I was an actor.
Right.
I wasn't comfortable traveling for WWF, living in New York. I'm going to go to Atlanta. And, it was just not, there was almost some relief involved that I could really go full-time, pursue acting.
I was going to ask you, any interactions with Hulk Hogan?
Hulk was great. Hulk, there's a funny story where we were on the road in Texas. And, these guys, they were big partiers. And me, I was trying to not party because I told you my whole thing. And we were in the dressing room one night, I think it was the dressing room. And Vince and Hulk were kind of arguing about whose van Jameson was going in. They both I got Jameson. No, I got Jameson. Because I was like a little bit of comic relief for them. And Hulk was great. He was so good to me. After the Royal Rumble in '92, they were getting ready to go to Japan. This was still before all the bad stuff started happening. And, Hulk was like, Jameson, you're coming to Japan with me. And so there was some really good, exchanges. I mean, he was a fan. And years later, when WrestleMania was in Jersey at Giant Stadium, that they don't call it that anymore. But where are you, by the way?
I'm in Jersey. I'm in Central Jersey.
Okay. So that year there was a big event, and it was held right on the grounds at a hotel, big conference room. And it was when the first time I ever brought my son to a signing. It was maybe my third signing, I guess, at the time. And because the Cam Newton commercial was huge, and Hulk was so good to my son, and he told him what a big star I was. Like my son was only like 8 at the time, so that was 9 years ago. He was getting big money, and but he took the time for me to get a couple shots of him with my son, and yeah, Hulk was great. Hulk took the time when he didn't have to, and Vince always reinforced what a fan he was of me. So, these guys, to me, I didn't see too much negative.
Anyone in particular not a fan of Jameson, or give you Jameson any crap, or would you just rather not say?
Well, I don't mind saying. One in particular, I hate to talk bad about the dead, but Pat Patterson was yeah, there you go. That's a prime example of somebody who and I, I don't know how everybody felt about me, but there were a few people that didn't mind, didn't hide their, annoyance, let's say. And he's top of the list easily.
I mean, you're an actor getting paid.
The Nasty Boys were dicks. I'm sorry. And Fred, Typhoon and Tugboat. Fred was awesome. Tugboat was awesome. Big, huge, happy, funny guy. But his partner there was another one that would look at me like I was a cockroach or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But that's it. I mean, I don't think I really had any. I'm going to tell you who was a great friend on the road was the Brooklyn Brawler. Steve was, we're both from Brooklyn, both potheads, and just a regular good guy.
How do you want the character to be remembered?
Wow, that's a good one. Wow, nobody ever asked me that question. That I really went out of my way to be funny and give fans what they wanted, and that even though I say that I looked at it as another acting job, that I always did my best to give Vince or the production team, the creative team, what they wanted, that they were happy with what I did. And the fans are great. I mean, I've never been asked that question. I've never really thought about it. And I think that however fans do remember me, I'm good with, because I think, there's some websites and stuff that have no use for me, or, said, negative things, but I think I was a real professional. I always was on time. I would do whatever they wanted me to do. I would, Bobby is so up here, like how everybody thinks about Bobby, and maybe that I was someone who was not up there, but during those years that we were linked, that I made Bobby even funnier because of the shit I gave him. to like in our exchanges and stuff. I think we were a good match, and Bobby felt that way, and I know Vince did. Yeah, that's all. Don't ask me any more hard questions. I'm just
John,
kidding.
this was great. This was a lot of fun. Is there anything you want to plug? Is there any way you want people to get in touch with you?
Well, listen, anybody, my Facebook page is the best way. It's Jameson, no, it's John, John, Jameson DiGiacomo. And if you just put the D and the I in there, I'll pop up. Right? Because, spelling my name is not, I just learned how to spell it. No. But yeah, absolutely welcome all Facebook friends.